Light of the world, you step down into darkness. Open my eyes, let me see beauty that makes this heart adore you. All for love's sake became here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. Here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. King of all days. King of all days, oh so highly exalted, glorious in heaven above. Humbly you came to the earth you created. All for love's sake became poor. Here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. Here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. I never know, oh, I never know how much it costs to see my sin upon that cross. I never know how much it costs to see my sin upon that cross. So here we are to worship you. Here we are to bow down in your presence. Here we are to say that you're our God.
It's a blessing to really share God's word with you. You know, sometimes at home, I like to share with myself, share with my family, but it's always a good opportunity where we can share with one another. So before we jump in, I got one question for you guys. So you know Jesus walked the earth many thousands of years ago, and the question I have for you guys is, when Jesus walked the earth, what was his mode of transportation? How did he get around? So, and I should say, get, don't worry, get. Y'all can say something, it's okay. Walking? All right. Donkey, okay. All right. Walking, donkey, a donkey, I think, okay, that's cool, yeah. All right. Walking? Yeah. So I have a question, though. So if Jesus had a car back then, what kind of car would he drive? A Mercedes? All right. Anybody else? They said a Humpty? Because he's humble, right? Hoopty, Humpty? He was humble? All right. Unfortunately, all you guys are wrong. He would have drove a Chrysler. Get it? Jesus Chrysler? Y'all didn't get that? Y'all didn't get that one? All right. He didn't really laugh, so I got to give you guys another joke. Then we're going to jump into this, you know. So when Moses had a headache, don't worry, this is not Dave Chappelle's show. When Moses had a headache, right, what did God give him? Moses. The tablets. He gave him 2 tablets. Get it? All right. I'm done. Here we go. So we're going to jump into today's message, and it's going to be a combination of Sunday morning sermon and sort of Bible lesson. So this was just an example of, I'm going to throw some questions out to you guys, and you guys are going to answer some questions and keep those answers brief. You know, I got my man Chris over there, who's a timer guy, but you know, Chris is unreliable. I got to tell you this. They're gonna get in the sermon. You guys ever go to the amusement park and you got like 3 minutes for the ride? And you know, that's it, 3 minutes and that's it. I wish Chris worked there because Chris, you'll have like 15, 20 minutes. I always tell Chris when we do the men's session downstairs, we need 10 minutes. It keeps going 20, 30, anybody else wants to go home. But Chris, at some point, I'm going to tell you to give me a 10-minute mark and you got to stick to it, okay? All right. So yeah, I'm going to throw out a few scenarios to you guys. Ask you guys some questions, and then somewhere in the middle of this sermon, or message, I hate to say sermon, it sounds so official, message, then I'm going to sort of tie everything together. Is that all right? All right. So actually, to bow your heads, Lord, we thank you, Lord, for just bringing us together to break bread spiritually, Lord, and we ask that this message may touch each and every one of us, so we may walk out the door with some actions that may bless us in your name. Amen. All right. So you guys seem pretty warmed up to me, a little Q&A. So I got 2 more Q&A things, then we're going to jump right into this message. So how many of you guys drive? All right, you guys drive. All right.
I'm driving soon.
You driving soon? Okay. I didn't say ride. I said drive over there. Okay. You ever been in a situation where you're about to get on the highway, right? And you see a whole mess of traffic, and you're like, I am not getting on there. And I'm sort of going to divert and go a different way. How many of you have been in that situation, right? Trust me, especially when you're riding on this major Deegan or 95, forget about 95. And you may say, well, it's a little annoying, but at least I'm not like those people that are stuck in the traffic, right? Right? You with me so far? Now, on the other hand, though, it's not fun when those people that drive, you guys are the folks that are actually stuck in the traffic. You know, how does it make you feel when you're stuck on a highway you can't get off on, you're stuck in traffic? How does it make you guys feel? Aggravated. Nauseous. Annoyed. Upset. All right. Frustrated. All of these negative feelings. And, you know, for like many of you guys, I hate getting stuck in traffic. I really do. You know, whether it's an accident, hopefully everybody's okay. Whether it's construction, whether it's rain, or whether it's the rush hour, I hate getting stuck in traffic. And like I said, it's worse when you're actually on the highway and you can't get off, and depending upon where you're driving, the next exit is like 5 miles down. Yeah. Oh, my Lord. That is crazy. That would drive me crazy. This week I was looking online, right? And we're going to get to the message. I was looking online, and, you know, how do people handle that aggravation, frustration when they are in traffic? And so I got some tips here, which I don't know if I can follow. And the experts say, you know what? You meet the traffic jam with calm, like calm. I'm like, don't you know I'm in a rush? I'm going to be late for work. I'm going to be late for church. I got some places to go. And the experts say, you know, given that it's out of your control, take a step back, breathe, and allow whatever needs to happen. How many of y'all do that on the highway when you're stuck in traffic? Chris, you don't do that. You know? And they say if you take your time, okay. You can't change it, right?
That's why I'm just
I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
They say, though, if that doesn't work, you got to focus on an object outside of your car and hope that relaxes you. So if you guys are driving on the Major Deegan, then maybe that's the Yankee Stadium building, or, I don't know, the GW Bridge. Focus on the object and you'll sort of relax. If that doesn't work, you count to 5, breathe slowly, in and out. Unfortunately for me, you know, I don't think I can try that stuff because that stuff just don't work for me. Maybe the older I get, the more agitated I get about things such as being in traffic, right? So stick with me so far in that right here. And I would say, you know, for those that don't drive, you know, you could find yourself stuck on the subway taking a DO4 train. I've been doing that a few times when I was at work, stuck for 45 minutes in between stations. You know, it happens. And so the point is, you know, this is, unfortunately, this little annoying thing is a part of life. And, you know, when you think about life, you know, I think about life. I also think about what's going on in the world today. All right? You know, what's going on in the world today. Here's another part. We're going to do some Q&A right here. Then we're going to get into the theme of what we're talking about, because I didn't tell you what we were talking about today, but I will tell you in a minute. All right? So I want you to seriously think about the world that we are living in today, right? And so here's a question I have for you. So you guys are seeing what's happening in the world, right? Crazy stuff. And the question I have for you, and I want some answers, I'm going to write them down on the board, is, what you're seeing today, what are the things that you're seeing that maybe go against God or go out of alignment with God or not biblically based? All right? Anything you're seeing, except roaches. Go ahead. What do you? Well, you want to say Roe versus Wade? Okay. I'm going to put Roe case. Okay. Lawlessness? Oh, yeah. You probably can't see this, but it makes me feel like I'm doing something. Oh, okay. How you doing? All right. Okay. Anybody else?
Economy.
Oh, yeah. Economy.
Crime. Might be lawless.
Crime. That's
War.
war. Yeah, war.
Disease.
Yeah.
Racism.
Racism.
Is it racism?
Frustration.
Frustration. What did you say, Chris? Testing my spelling here, Chris. These are things that we are all seeing today. So we got the Roe versus Wade case, you got lawlessness tied to crime, you got same sex, you got the economy, hypocrisy, frustration, racism, disease, war. You have all of these things that are going on. Drugs, oh yeah.
That's a big.
Drugs. All of these issues I'm gonna add to this list, and trust me, we're gonna get to the theme because you're like, what is he talking about today? But I got the easy answer for you, but I'll tell you in a minute. So these are all the things, a number of things that are happening, today. And, just to add to that, related, you have this big transgender movement, right? That's happening today, where you have the government giving billions of dollars to promote an agenda, right? Which is interesting, right? I'm not going to get into politics, don't worry. But, it's unfortunate when you can't give young people in the hood money to start a business, but you're going to start furniture. I'm just saying there. And what's interesting about that, too, and I'm going to move on to some other points, is I was watching a senator on YouTube. He was going back and forth with a professor. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. So the professor asked him, Senator, can men have babies? You know what he said, right? He said, nope. You know what she called him? You're transphobic and you're promoting violence. Huh? That's crazy, right? You see the stuff that's happening in the world today? Some other stuff. I saw this video. It was funny, but not funny. I don't know if you saw the video with the two little kids. You ever see the two little kids in diapers? And so there was a shooting in the neighborhood, not in New York, and I don't know, it was a murder. So the cops go there, and these are minority cops, if you want to use that term. And the kids, JJ's age and all that, were cursing out the cops. Little kids, like this.
Wow.
And I saw the unedited version and the edited version. You bleep a N-word. Get the and the parents over there. Exactly. Terrell, like, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So somebody mentioned abortion, right? That's the big topic of the day, which is interesting. All right. I'll jump out real quick. Yeah, interesting there. And they got it sort of wrapped into women's rights, which, with the whole abortion movement, I'm not going to belabor the point on that. Y'all know about Margaret Sanger, right? She started Planned Parenthood. And if you notice, all the Planned Parenthoods are in the hood. And she gave a speech, and it's in her book, to the KKK. The whole theme behind Planned Parenthood was to ensure that there's a certain race that progresses and a certain race that doesn't. But you see how the enemy is slick? Is wrapped into women's rights. But anyway, all this crazy stuff, and the last one I give you, I told the men, that we're going to move this on, a couple of weeks ago. They're trying to pass a law in California where, save the environment. no driving on Sundays. Now, what do most people do on Sundays? Hello? You know? Anything I'm telling y'all ask me for the links. I look at facts. I just look at straight facts. A lot of crazy stuff that's happening today. And so with that, we're going to look at two characters in the Bible. He's like, where is this going? First, we talk about traffic. Now you talk about all this crazy stuff. Where are we going with this? Just give me a minute. Not 10 minutes yet, Chris. 10 minutes. I'll let you know. We're going to look at two characters in the Bible, Enoch and Noah. And just to we'll go a little bit into the characters. Or the Bible. I hate to say characters. The men in the Bible. So since the original sin, that's when Adam fell. You know, the world at that time was going down, down, down. And from Adam's time to Noah's time, about 1,600 years passed. 1,600 years passed. Crazy stuff. And what's interesting is a lot of the stuff that you guys mentioned here was happening during the time of Enoch and Noah. Devil's got the same playbook, he just put a different cover on it, right? Think about that. You know, you think about it. If you compare the time, we'll get a little bit into this. That time and this time, similarities, craziness, wickedness, ungodly, all this stuff you're talking about here, ungodlike, really crazy. So anyway, let's look at Enoch and Noah, because I know everybody knows about Noah, but we can spend a little bit of time on Enoch. So there were, believe it or not, there were two Enochs in the Bible, and in the same book. A chapter apart at that, you know. So in the fourth chapter of Genesis, there's the Enoch from Cain's line. You know the whole Cain and Abel thing, you know, killed the brother, yeah? So that's not, we're not going to talk about that Enoch. We're going to talk about the Enoch in the fifth chapter, which is on the line of Seth, you know, the Messianic line, long story short. So just so you know, you'll learn something today. There's two Enochs in the Bible. But Enoch was the first prophet, believe it or not, I'm talking about man prophet, the first preacher that's listed in the Bible. And God spoke through him, and Enoch was one of those dudes that was speaking against all of this stuff here, you know. And Enoch is one of my favorite words. He was so dope, and he was a prophet. If you jump into the New Testament, the book of Jude now, and let me actually just skip back here for a second, if I want to. You know, I'll give you another scripture now. So with Enoch, I'll give you this right here. So Genesis 5, chapter 21. You don't have to turn to it. If you want to turn to it, that's fine. Genesis chapter 5, 21 through the 23rd verse. It says, when Enoch lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah, right? And after he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully with God for 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived for 365 days. So we can see here, Enoch spent 300 of his 365 years walking faithfully and aligned with God. That's a real awesome thing, right? During that crazy time that was happening there. And you may say, hey, musician, well, how is he a prophet? I'm going to tell you right now. So there's a scripture in the New Testament, the book of Jude. You ever heard of the book of Jude? It's right before Revelation. And you know what's interesting about this book? It only has one chapter. One chapter, right? So since it only has one chapter, I'll just give you the verses of the book of Jude where you kind of get to see his prophetic sort of abilities at hand. So it says in verse 15, 14, and 15, it says, and Enoch, also the seventh from Adam, again, talking about the seventh generation from Adam, prophesied, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment upon all and to convince all that the ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. You're like, huh? So what does that mean? I'm glad you asked, Terrell. So what's interesting is this is Enoch prophesying before there was no Bible at the time, right? Jesus didn't heal the sick, raise the dead. Jesus didn't even walk the earth. So what's interesting is, and this is how awesome God is, you have Enoch prophesying two things. One, he's prophesying the first coming of Jesus, which is the salvation. Jesus died on the cross. And then he's prophesying the second go around when Jesus is going to come and, you know, get us folk that are aligned with God. And that's when the end times and judgment are going to come. So it's pretty interesting. Now, Old Testament guy is prophesying stuff that we may or may not see now. Interesting, right? Everybody knows who Noah is, right? Do we have to go? Yeah? Okay. Tell me who Noah is so the kids know. All right. You sure? You? No, you know. All right. I'll tell you who Noah is then. Y'all know the story of Noah, right? All right. So, yeah, Noah, God told him to build a boat, all that stuff. And yeah, you guys got that. So what's interesting is in Genesis 6 and 9, it says that Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of that time. So when I see blameless among the people at that time, what's going on with those people at that time? So it says he walked faithfully with God. Noah is the grandson of Enoch, right? You know, Enoch lived, like I said, to be 365 years. Methuselah, 964. Lamech, 777. Then voila, you have Noah. And you see the similarity between Noah and Enoch where their lifestyle was aligned with God. They were walking faithfully with God, you know? Out of all the craziness that's happening, they're walking faithfully with God, you know? So, you know, let's look at the time of Noah and Enoch, which pretty much looks like today. And if you go to the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 5, it says, the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually, ongoing evilness in the heart. Does that sound like today? Yeah. And if you skip down to verses 11 through 13, it says the earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. Someone mentioned crime and murder and all that stuff, right? And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. For all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said to Noah, right? The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So, translation is, God's about to bring judgment on that world for all the wickedness that's going on, and things are going to get wiped out, right? Y'all like, is he doing an end time sermon? Not I didn't give you the theme yet, purposely. All right. So, like I mentioned earlier, from Adam, the fall of Adam, to Noah, about, if you want the exact number, 1,656 years passed, where things are just a hot mess. The devil, things are just rampant. Things are just declining. You know, it's in like a spiritual recession. You know, whatever you want to call it. And so Enoch and Noah were living through this time of judgment where, you know, what God just told Noah, you know, the spaghetti is about to hit the fan. You heard that before? I made it up. I just put the word spaghetti in there. Somebody got that, right? No. You never, all right. That means stuff is about to happen that ain't so cool. Somebody got there, right? I just used the term spaghetti. Y'all may use something else, and I'm going to pray for y'all. So things were going to get bad, and the outcome wasn't going to be good. God, you know, things ain't going to. So anyway, and we're about to get to the theme in a second. So if you look at Genesis chapter 5, verse 24, and again, we're talking about Enoch. Again, God says, Enoch faithfully walked with God. Then he was no more because God took him away. I'm going to read it one more time. Andre's face is like, I'm going to tell you one more time, Andre. Genesis 5:24, it says, Enoch walked faithfully with God, and he was no more because God took him away. So just to let you know, Enoch didn't die. God took him away. God took him. The other person that happened with in the Bible was who? I'm glad you asked. Nope. I was going to give someone $100. Let me say the answer real quick. Elijah. All right. Put my money back in my pocket right there. All right. So you remember we were talking about the traffic jam earlier, right? Because now we're going to start tying stuff together. And I'm going to give you the message theme. We were talking about the traffic jam earlier. So if you look at Noah and you look at Enoch, and what's very interesting is, and you got to stick with here. So with Noah, right? God, because you'll know the story of Noah, that's why I didn't spend a whole lot of time on him. God is going to deliver Noah through the situation. Y'all feeling me? He's going to deliver Noah through this. Y'all got that part so far, right? With Enoch, he's going to deliver him before the situation. You feeling me? God took him up to heaven before all the spaghetti hit the fan. You get it? So, all right, I'm going to say it differently because some of you are still looking at me like I'm crazy. So, as believers, right, who are walking, we're talking about us now, who are walking faithfully with God, just like Enoch and Noah, you know, there were two ways that God helps us to deal with our situations. So, one is sometimes God helps us to avoid that traffic jam on the major deacon spiritually, right? And remove us from the situation without a little scratch. You know, that's cool, right? And then there are other times where God is with us, getting us through the situation where we're sitting in that traffic jam between Fordham Road and Yankee Stadium, losing our mind, going crazy, trying to look at a Yankee Stadium building, it just ain't working, trying to breathe, it ain't working. You know, God, with like Noah, is going to deliver us through that situation and build our spiritual muscle. So you got two forms of deliverance. God will get you out of it before you're in the situation, or God will get you through the situation. Huh? Yo, with me? Still feeling me so far? Okay. All right. Now, I have a question for you guys. You know, would you guys, and this is Q&A, call and response, would you rather be delivered and not have to go through the situation, or would you rather be delivered going through the situation? Anybody? You said anybody else? She said delivered going through the situation.
I don't want to go through it.
Okay, I don't want to go through it. Anybody else? You're scared to answer. I'm not going to say you're right or wrong. I'm just asking for some feedback right here.
Either way, I want to get out of it.
He said that's a safe answer right there, you know? You should run for president or New York governor. So what's interesting is, I have to admit that to avoid a situation for me, all right, I'm gonna take my spiritual hat off for now and just talk Kendo. For me to avoid a situation, that's a lot easier for me. I don't have to worry about any bumps, no bruises, no scrapes. That's sort of the easy way out of my situation. You feeling me? So while Sister Melvina said she was going through, she'd rather go through it. Oh, God don't strike you with lightning unless you're telling the truth. All right? You know, the easy way to get out of the situation, trust me, I'll take an easy one. I no pride in authorship right here. I will take an easy one. Now, the question I do have, because I'm going to talk to me, because y'all didn't give me answers, you know, if every time there's a situation that's on the horizon or I'm about to go through, and if every time God does an Enoch on me and takes me out before the situation, I got a question. How am I building my faith muscle? You're not? Okay, you're not building your faith. Now, trust me, I want an easy win every single time as much as possible, but because who wants to get bumped up, bruised, broken leg, you know, eyeball coming out? We naturally don't like that. Think about that, right? But if we're presented with that every single time, what does it do to build our faith muscle? Right? So, anyway, I guess, you know, as we are going into sermon, guess what we're talking about today?
Faith over fear.
You're like, oh, shucks, I thought it was an end time sermon. No, we're talking about faith over fear today. He's like, Jesus, please don't talk about end time, so I'm going to go home and repent, get on my knees. I don't want to go to hell. Anyway, so you think about it. You know, it's, you know, you got the easy way and the very challenging way. And it's one of those things where, you know, if wanting the easy way, if we all think about it, I'm going to talk to me because y'all didn't give me answers. Maybe for me, it's a form of fear because I don't know what the outcome looks like. You know, speaking natural, I don't know what the outcome looks like, so God, give me the easy way. I don't even have to go in a situation. Right? I'll give you a scenario. Let's say I go to work tomorrow and I get fired. I got 2 kids and a wife and all that stuff. Well, I do have that, you know. And I'm like, okay, where am I going to get money from? How am I going to pay the bills? I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I have no answers, right? Yeah, feel me here for a second, right? Now, let me switch that scenario up a little bit. I go to work tomorrow. They get fired. I get fired. And then somehow I know, some way, my long-lost cousin who has a lot of money, we don't have anyone like that in the family, right? I know he's going to call me on Wednesday. Follow me here. He's going to call me on Wednesday. Hey, Kendo, man, you were just in my heart. I want to give you $20,000, right? Let's say I knew he was going to do that, right? And then I knew next Saturday that someone was going to offer me a job starting in November. You feeling me so far? You're like, where am I going with this? In scenario number 2, there's a situation that I'm encountering, but I'm probably less fearful because I know that my cousin is going to call me on Wednesday and give me the money, and I know I got a job lined up as of Saturday. So my thing is, with that, I'm going to go through the situation because I have the answers. But how many times do we have the answers? We don't. We don't have the answers. So what happens is, because we don't have the answers, fear starts to creep in. And that's why I'm seeking me. God, give me the easy way out because I don't know what the outcome is going to be. Unlike my other scenario with the cousin and the job coming in. You feeling me? Interesting, right? And because of that, I probably would be fearful of going through this situation, going through this trial, being stuck in that spiritual sort of traffic. And the question I have to ask myself is, am I really scared to trust God? Because in scenario number 2, when cousin gives me $10,000, I got a job, I ain't scared. Why? Because I got the answers. I know what's down the road. I know the outcome. But we don't always have the outcome when we're going through stuff. We don't. So when we don't have the outcome, fear starts to creep in. We're scared to really trust God. You think about it, right? This is a human struggle for all of us. Interesting, right? All right. And when you look at, make sure you guys are not sleeping, all right? Fear is the opposite of what? Okay, so if right in my situation, I'm operating with a high spirit of fear, that must mean I must be low in faith, right? And, you're like, interesting there. You have Noah and Enoch, very faithful dudes. God said they walked favorably with God. Favorably. That's why they got through the situation. One did. One was averted from the situation. So the one thing, if you think about Enoch and Noah in their time, check this out. They had great faith. You with me so far? And little information, really no information. What do you mean by that? I'm going to tell you right now. Think about it. Did Enoch and Noah have a Bible? Did they see Jesus raise the dead? Did they see Jesus walk? They didn't see all that. Did they have an iPhone to look up and buy this t-shirt, Faith Over Fear? Amazon, $9.99, right? Faith, they had none of these things at their disposal, yet they had a whole lot of faith with little information to go on. That shows you how much they're plugged into God. And if you kind of think about it with us today, we have access to a whole lot of information, and at times we have little faith. I'm just talking to me right now. I'm talking to me right now. You think about it. I can probably put this message online and someone to use it because, they have access to information. We have the Bible. We see how God's delivered. We got testimonies. We have all this to go on, yet at times we have little faith. Unlike Noah and Enoch, little information, big faith. Right? Interesting, right? And, you think about Enoch. I was going to make this a 10-minute thing, Chris. That's why I didn't tell you to start the timer when I started. Enoch and Noah, true men of God, right? They walked not perfect, true men of God. We'll get to that in a second. Enoch, I'm going to see if you're paying attention, lived to what age? And he walked with God for how many years? All right, you missed out on $50 again. I'll tell you before you answer, 300 years. I didn't want to write that on the board because I didn't want to give you $50. So in 300 years, again, man of God, all this decadence that's going on there, Enoch is preaching. Guess how many converts he had in 300 years? Donut. Not a single person. It didn't stop him. That's right, didn't stop him. You look at Noah. We know Noah didn't have any converts other than his family. You think about that, right? And I kind of look at it. I know y'all know the story or no, but I was thinking about this. So, explain this to me. You got this dude that's building an ark, right? Y'all see the size of Yankee Stadium, right? Multiply that by 3. This dude is building an ark in the desert, telling people what God told him. Hey, you know what? You need to get aligned with God because spaghetti's about to hit the fan. He's telling the unbelievers. And so I try to put it in my, today's times. It's almost like me going outside this church door, telling everybody say, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost here, but going to the unbelievers outside and say, you know what, guys? In November, the Bronx is going to be attacked by a dinosaur. You would think I'm crazy. God told me that. If I said that to you all even here, God told you you're going to get attacked by a dinosaur in November, you would think I'm crazy, right? What do you think they thought about Noah building an ark in the desert? Same kind of thing, right? Oh, man. Man, you talk about faith, because you know what? You got to deal with people talking about you. And, Noah was pretty dope about him. He had an opportunity to stand up in his faith. Yeah, y'all may think I'm crazy, but I'm crazy for Jesus, And he was obedient and rode with God. And that's one of the reasons why he got through the situation, right? The one question I do have for God, though, is, okay, God, you got my man building a boat, big boat, like a Carnival cruise ship times 3 in the desert, God. Why? Why? Why not the beach? Because I'm sure back then every water was blue, green. God, have him build it near the shore, the seashore, He said it's too easy. I can tell people, hey, why are you building this ark? I'm starting Carnival Cruise Lines. 5 nights, 4 days for 300 speckles, whatever you call it, It's interesting that like he said, it was too easy. And if you look at a desert's dry. A desert could symbolize the trial that we're going through. It could symbolize the traffic jam we was talking about earlier before, right? It symbolizes the opposite of easy, which is hard. And we know when we have to go through the situation, it's going to build our faith muscle. You think about it. So I asked God the question, but then I thought about it. That makes sense, right? Man, this guy was crazy. He's building an ark in the desert. Don't y'all come telling me next week that God's going to send Godzilla in November. So like I said to you, you may ask, well, so out of all these people, why did God salvage Noah? Why did God salvage Enoch? You may say, well, they were perfect. No, they were faithful. Because let's check this out right here. If God wanted to get rid of the imperfection of the world, I wouldn't be talking about Noah, because he would be gone, because he wasn't perfect, but he was walking with God. He was walking in alignment with God, In a crazy world like we're going through today, he was going through that stuff there and stood fast in his face and walked aligned with God, I don't know. I'm just saying, and so that's a pretty awesome thing. And you know what's so dope about God in the Bible? God could have given us examples of perfect people in the Bible, right? But then how you are going to learn? Because we ain't perfect. We are not perfect. You got David. David did his thing. Called him a man after God's own heart. God used imperfect people in the Bible to be a testimony to us and to build our faith. You think about it. All right. Chris, I'm almost at that point where I'm going to say 10 minutes, all right? So how many of you guys take vitamins? I know my aunt takes vitamins because I bought her like 50 bottles. Okay, you guys take vitamins, right? You paying attention? All right. You take vitamins. So if you guys don't know anything, vitamins are good for you because, if I'm gonna step out of the message for a minute. Vitamins are good for you because a lot of how they're creating the foods are going to food. We're not getting the necessary nutrition from the foods. So people take supplements and vitamins. Now, here's the thing. When you take vitamins, it takes several weeks for it to get in your system and start working. I had to tell my aunt that too. It takes several weeks. So if I got arthritis, cranky ankle, crazy bones, my bones ain't that good, not as strong, and I take a vitamin today, you think it's going to start working today? No. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. And that's how faith is. Faith isn't a switch that you can turn on and off, but it's a spiritual muscle that you have to continuously build. You think about it, again, going back to the Enoch situations, I would say the Enoch situations are nice to have, again, because you know what? We don't have to go through the traffic jams and deal with the challenges of going through a trial or situation. Now, the one thing I would say when we talk about faith is, if we're on that spiritual sort of traffic jam, stuck in between Fordham Road and Yankee Stadium, is you don't want to get caught with no faith gas in your gas tank, right? Again, spiritual vitamins. It's almost like me going to war and I got a plastic knife. I'm not equipped to fight this battle that's going on in the world. You know, you think about that right there. Think about it, you know. So, oops. Chris, I think I'm almost about there. I'm zipping through some of this stuff. All right, let me do it. Can I have 15 more minutes? Yes, take your time. I always wanted someone to say that to me. Pastor could be preaching for 4 hours, and he says, "Can I have 10 more minutes?" You know, his mother's gonna say, "Yeah, take your time." I'm like, "Mom, I got to go home and eat." you know. So going back to what I was saying before, you know, our faith is challenged when we do not know what the outcome looks like. So fear would cause us to take the easy and unwise way to try to create an Enoch situation. So you know what? I'm going to do this so I don't have to go through that trial I'm going to try to, do it my way to get out of the trial. You get what I'm saying? And we know how that sort of turns out. Instead of relying on God to solve the problem, in essence, we're trying to solve the problem ourselves. And the one thing about the enemy is when he sees that you're not relying on God and you're relying on your own devices, he's giving his boys high five. Yeah, we got him now. We got him now. And it's just a fact. And a lot of times when we're dealing with fear, you know what? We'll try to make excuses, and not trust God. You look at Moses. God called Moses, "Oh, I can't talk. I got a speech impediment." All these excuses, it took him a while to get past that and stand on the faith and be obedient to God. Excuses usually are connected to fear, All right, Chris, you can start the time. I'm going to zip through this now. So you guys know the story of Jairus in the Bible? So you learn two things. There's two Enochs in the Bible, right? Good and bad one, right? You got Jairus. So I'll tell you this in a second. So and I'll make this one really short. So Jairus, he had a daughter where the pops called up Jesus. They said, "Jesus, my daughter is sick." Jesus like, I got you. All right. What happens is Jesus gets to the house and the daughter died. Y'all know the story? Family is pissed off. They crying, pissed off. Jesus, well, it's too late. She's dead. She died already. Let me tell Jesus. You know what Jesus said to my man, to Pops? He said, "Pops," he says, "all you got to do is believe. All you have to do is believe." He's like, "Jesus, she ain't moving. What are you talking about believing? I was believing when you said you were coming, but she's dead." What's the simple takeaway with faith? You know what? Don't lose faith in a dead situation. Think about it. Don't lose faith in a situation that seems dead, because we serve a great God that can get us the kind of outcome that we need. And again, I'm talking to myself, I'm talking to me first. Think about it. That's it. Oh, that ain't nothing going to happen there. It's almost like, I don't know, talk sports. I saw the Super Bowl. I was rooting for this team. No, not the Super Bowl. It was before the Super Bowl. There was a team up by 7 points with like 3 seconds left. I'm like, yeah, it's over with. The situation was dead. You know what happened? The other team scored the touchdown and won. There was the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs. The situation looked dead, but the other team ended up winning. God works like that in times when it comes to situations. Amen? All right? So, I'm going to give you some additional points about faith, and then we're going to wrap this up. Chris, you got the timer on? And, you've heard pastors say this too. Sometimes, God closes a door and opens up another one, and we may be believing God for something, and that outcome doesn't turn out what it should be. And, again, we're going through it. This is not an Enoch situation. It's more like a Noah situation. We got to go through this situation right here. And we probably like, oh, shucks. I remember one time I was speaking about jobs. Several years ago, I had this new job locked in. I was like, oh, yeah, right? It was locked in, boy. Get the phone call. Sorry, we decided to give it to somebody else. I'm like, what? My heart dropped because I was thanking God. Thank you for the job. I can't wait to start. Hallelujah, Jesus, in my car, right? I get the phone call 2 days later. Sorry, Mr. Scott, we gave the job to somebody else. I'm like, God, but I was just praising you for the job. I'm going to fast forward, right? 2 years later, that company went out of business. And I stayed at my company for 5 more years. You think about that? You think about that, right? You know, you think about that. Talk about outcomes. You know, I didn't know. I'm like, I'm all God. I'm praising him. It happens like that sometimes. And I think the last time I think I was up here or down here, I said sometimes, you know, we ask God, why do things happen? But I'm going to get to that in a minute, you know, because it's connected to faith. Sometimes things aren't revealed to us why until down the road. And we have to accept that. Sometimes things will not be revealed to us until we get to heaven. You ask Jesus, God, all the questions you want. You know, you think about it. But this was revealed to me 2 years later. Company folded. I would have been in trouble. Folded. Anyway. Thank you. Thank you. I said, Jesus, you slick. I like you. I like your game, Jesus. You know? When we talk about situations, how much time I have left, Chris? When I tell you, this guy doesn't use somebody buy Chris a watch. So sometimes the situations that we go through are self-inflicted, right? Terrell, you watch sports? Probably don't watch football, but I'll tell you, I'm a little bit older than you. So there was a guy many years ago, Plaxico Burress, right? Played for the Jets. The Giants, he all right. Giants, you know, he was good, but he wasn't like all that, but he was good. He was at the club, had his gat on him, right? He over there chilling. Oh, yeah. The big dummy shoots himself in the foot. Shoots himself in the foot and misses games. And from that situation, it derailed his whole career in the NFL. He was a laughingstock. People thought he was unresponsible. Coaches, teams, they didn't want to mess with him. Went to jail. Went to jail. You think about that, you know. And what's your point, musician, right? Is that sometimes because of our own stupidity, if you will, or because of our spiritual disobedience, we get ourselves in situations that we cause on our own. You know? We still need, and since we are in that situation, we still gonna need the same tools, the faith. But sometimes we cause situations on our own. I'll give you a case in point. So let's say I'm a guy that parties, you know, I'm going to the clubs, I drink, I get so drunk and everything else, I'm driving, you know, a few months down the road, and then, you know, next week, my car is wrapped around the pole, and I'm in the ICU. Well, God, why are you allowing me to go through this? No, dummy, you've been driving drunk for like 20,000 months, and look what's happening. You know, what's the point? Sometimes we put ourselves in situations. And despite that, though, it's an opportunity for us to build our faith muscle and lessons learned. I always tell my kids, I pray every morning. There's 3 things. I call it the 3 C's. I made it up. I think I'm somewhat smart. I said, I pray for a God conscious. Have a God conscious, because that's going to tell you what's right or wrong. Pray for a God conviction, because if you in something that ain't God-like, you should feel convicted. And since we are not perfect, just like David, just like Noah, just like Enoch, course correction. Course correction. You course correct. I think that's a dope formula right there. I always tell the kids that every day. You know, and I'm sure, you know, I have family members that no, not you. Well, they've had so many warnings. They grew up in church. They heard the word, and we're gonna get into this in a minute too. All right, Chris, give me an extra 10 minutes. All right. They grew up in church, but they are so unaligned with God. That's crazy, right? Because when you're unaligned with God, how do you think your faith muscle is going to be? You know, think about it. You think about it. Going back to my point, then I'm gonna touch on this subject, is going back to the me partying and wrapping my car around the pole, right? You think about, we are all going to suffer in life. It's just a fact. We all are going to be not the easy way out. We're going to go through these trials and tribulations. My question is, do you want to suffer because you stand for Jesus? Or do you want to suffer, in essence, because, let's say, your own disobedience or stupidity, going back to the car being wrapped around? You get what I'm saying? For me, if I know suffering is coming either way, I'm going to try as much as heaven to suffer with Jesus, standing up for Jesus, proclaiming faith, in my home, job, school. That's what I'm going to do. Think about it. I don't want to suffer getting tripped up by the enemy, because the enemy's a pimp. Getting all tied up in his games, and I get, oh, man, I'm in a situation. I'm suffering because of that. I want to suffer because I'm with Jesus. I'm ride or die Jesus. All right? What DMX said, where my dogs at? Anyway, so something to really think of. But going back to being unaligned, what happened, like I said, when we aren't really aligned with God, our faith muscle, sound like Mike Tyson muscle, our faith muscle gets weaker, and weaker. And when it becomes weaker, we are easy prey for the enemy. We are so easy prey for the enemy. You think about, it says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, it says, be sober, so meaning alert, diligent, aware of what's going on. Be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. And straight up, the enemy is relentless. He's relentless, And I tell people this all the time, I'm straight, unfortunately, there are going to be people in a pulpit to the usher door that, unfortunately, when it's all said and done with, ain't going to heaven. I'll put it to you like that. And the enemy's thing is, you know what? I want to take as many people with me as possible, because he's got a non-refundable ticket to spend eternity in hell. And he wants all of us to go with him. And the way to do that is to get us unaligned with God. Think about it. He wants us to get unaligned with God. So one of the tricks, and again, Chris, all right, I'm only going 10 minutes? All right. So with the enemy is, to get us unaligned with God, he wants us to focus on everything else and make that priority in our lives. You think about it. Everything else is priority in our lives. And what's interesting is, so when the spaghetti hits the fan, right? Y'all still didn't get that. I want you to look that up and tell me what I really meant. When spaghetti hits the fan, right, and all these things you put before God fail you, whether it's a thing or a person, I'll talk to me. I'm home under my blanket with my thumb in my mouth, stressed out because I put all these other things before my relationship with God. And when you put all these other things before your relationship with God, there's gonna be a sense of unalignment there. You're gonna be easy prey for the enemy. And when you're easy prey for the enemy, he's gonna go after your faith. He is. Me personally, I truly believe, as a Christian, that when we put God first, I'm so convinced we're gonna have less disappointments in life. I guarantee you that every time is what I pray, God, here's what I want, but I know at the end of the day, I know the outcome that's going to be is going to be best for me. And whether I find it out why 2 years from now or in heaven, I just trust God that the outcome is going to be best for me. You think about it. And I would say with life disappointments, if God is first, right? You think about it. Put this in perspective. I should be most pissed about, and it'll be a little too late, is if I'm so unaligned with God that I don't have an opportunity to go to heaven. I would be very annoyed about that. So what am I saying? If you put things in perspective and that's our focus, we're probably going to be less impacted by all these other things that we're going through, whether it's self-inflicted or not self-inflicted. You think about it. Perspective there. So going back to the enemy, not to give him too much credit, but the enemy is slick. He's a pimp. And what he wants to do is he wants to consume us and distract us with things of this world. He does. And I would say to young person in elementary, middle school, high school, college, working, retired, double retired, right, Sister Scott, is you want to be vigilant, like Peter was talking about. And I would honestly, because we gotta check ourselves at times. In anything in life, you gotta check yourselves, right? So I would say look at the time, look at what you do throughout the day. Putting work aside, right? Look at the time you spend daily, right? And ask yourself this: how much time am I spending to align myself with God, right? That's one question. The other question to ask yourself is, well, how much time am I spending being consumed with foolishness that ain't doing a doggone thing for your alignment with God? Ask yourself those questions, seriously. You got to ask yourself those questions every single day. Because you got to think about it. The devil's battlefield, to attack your faith is your mind. It is your mind. And Paul writes, he says in Romans 12:2, he says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And when he talks about renewing of your mind, this ain't a one-shot deal. We got to renew our mind every day. So how can you do it every day when you're not pouring in the right stuff in your mind? We ain't perfect. We got to renew ourselves every doggone day as Christians. And the more we do that, the more we're going to be aligned with God. The more we do that, the more we're going to have faith to go through our trials. All right. All right. And, sort of with that, it's, we have to guard our minds, right? We have to guard our minds. So if I eat fruit and drink water, I'm probably a very healthy guy. That's what I'm pouring into my body. The same thing goes for your mind. If you don't keep God's word in your mind, sin is going to be stronger in your life than your faith and your belief in Jesus. Straight up. I'll say it again. If you're not aligned with God, sin is going to be stronger. I don't care if you come to church 5 times a day. Sin is going to be stronger in your life than your faith with God. And, when our minds are penetrated, obviously our faith is weakened. We're setting ourselves up. Again, going back to easy prey, And so what happens is when our mind is open now, we're going to keep falling. And now there's a huge ocean between our faith or where we are, I should say, and our alignment with God, a big ocean. All right. I have a question for you guys. How can I put this? All right. Let's say we are school teachers here, right? We forgot to put the schools down here, what they teaching, oh my Lord. Strip club transgenders, all right. But if we are all teachers here, right? And I say to you, Mr. Smith, right? He does inappropriate things with kids. How many of you would say, well, let him be around the kids? Would anybody say that? What if I say, Mr. Smith donates money to charity, helps the homeless, feeds the needy? Would you let him around the kids? No? You sure? She said, oh, yeah. All right, calm down. What if Mr. Smith is funny? But he's doing all these good things. Feeds the homeless. He's funny. He makes people laugh. He's got this thing. Nah? I don't know. I'm trying to see where this is a whole nother sermon right here. You think about it. So why do we then entertain the enemy that tries to do the same thing to us each and every day? I'll give you a case in point since you asked, because you're looking at me. What do you mean by that? So I listen to this artist who so happens, I'm not talking about me, I'm just giving you an example. He worships the devil. She worships the devil. She's got songs on her album trying to cast spells and all this other stuff. You feel music and spiritual warfare, that's a whole different topic there, right? But if someone says to me, well, Kendo, she's got a song on YouTube about love. Do I still want to put that garbage in my mind? Oh, Kendo, he just did a song with Kirk Franklin. See? Do I want to put that in my mind? All I'm saying is, I'm not here to judge, because again, only one judges but the Father. When you're dealing with stuff that's going into your mind, I want you to think about my Mr. Smith scenario with the kids. Think about it. Think about it. Y'all, I listen to music. I try to be very conscious of what I put up here. And the stuff they produce in these days It's crazy. I heard Just My Imagination on the radio yesterday. I said, man, they don't make music like this anymore. Just my imagination. Versus kind of, hey, I sold my soul to the devil and da-da-da. There's a whole, man. All right. Anyway, so just think about that in terms of protecting your mind. And also, because that's all, when you guard your mind, that helps you to renew your mind. You think about it. You think about it, right? All right, Chris, I'm done. Five more? So I would say, we went around the world, so to speak, and it's talking about different things. And like I said, there's two scenarios how God deals with us in situations. He's going to help us avoid it, right? Avoid that traffic, take a detour, or he's going to get us through the situation. So he took Enoch out of the situation. He took Noah through the situation. And, the one thing I would say is sometimes when we go through the tougher road, not only is it to build our faith muscle, but it's to be a blessing to others. Think about it. Like, I said it to the men a few times. Like, I know what Cheryl went through with the Board of Ed. She was faithful. And look how God blessed her. She went through it. And she's been such a testimony to me. Just saying. You don't know how your testimony and faith impacts other people. So always think about that. But anyway, we are living in interesting times, like the days of Noah. Stuff is bad. You got social media, technology, it's crazy. And, see, I was growing up. I'm not 100 yet. My mother said, oh, Jesus is coming soon. I'm like, yeah. We've been hearing that for centuries, right? All of us, we haven't been around for centuries. We've been hearing about that. I do look at what's been going on over the past few years compared to what's been going on over the past 50 years. And a lot of stuff over the past, now and forward is seeming to be coming together very quickly. Things are rushing together. And I'm like, all right, are we going to be part of the Rapture Church? I don't know, but I think we're pretty close. But in terms of faith and fear, in terms of what we're going through is, we also want to be conscious of, just like Noah and Enoch, to not be consumed, not to be fretful, not stressing out of what's going on, just like they did, but to stand fast and walk in your faith with God. And again, I'm talking to me first, because you know what? I'm always online looking at certain things in terms of what's going on, trying to connect dots. Not that I'm assessing, but I just want to understand facts. What's the fake news, what's the real fake news, and what's the facts? I do want to understand stuff like that. But I also have to be very conscious to not let that consume me, because that could be a subconscious form of fear, and I'm not trusting on God. So I have to remind myself every day, just like in the times of Noah, just in the times of today, is I got to remain true and steadfast. And, what I would say is, one suggestion I would say is, and I started doing this, is when you read the Bible, read it out loud. Proclaim it, profess your faith. Do that every single day. And please guard your mind, because this is the enemy's playground. And once he gets you here, he's going to be taking out your faith. We don't want that to happen, right? We don't want that to happen. We want to have what? God bless you. All right.
Refreshing Word Ministries, under the leadership of Pastor Kevin and Demarius Scott, is here to let you know that God has a purpose for your life.
I'm not letting you go. I'm not letting you go. Yeah, you made some decisions that wasn't good. It wasn't in my will, but I'm not letting you go. You were in some imperfect situations, but guess what? I'm not letting you go.
We welcome all to come and experience a life-transforming time as God's servants bring to you a refreshing word. Our doors open from 2 p.m. every Sunday, and we are located on 237 East 204th Street, Bronx, New York. Your destiny awaits you. Visit us for that special time of divine impartation.